guys, Coop from Garage Gym Reviews. I'm in selfie mode right now, and this video is from Jason Brown from Box Programming, one of my internet friends. He's got one of the coolest setups that I think I've seen. It's set up for Westside Barbell, Conjugate style training. He's got everything you can think of. Jason, thank you for doing this. Guys, enjoy this walkthrough.
Our back raise, I use, I would say, at least bi-weekly. A ton of things you can do with this, and not just a back raise. We can do a lot of other variations with it for the obliques, and I think actually that's the original name of this, is the oblique flexor. But anyways, nice piece of equipment. I like this version from Rogue compared to other ones, just because how the pad is oriented. Some of them have a space in the middle, but this one allows you, for the guys, to use and not have issues downstairs, if you know what I mean. If you've ever used one, you probably do know what I mean. So this one works really well, and obviously it's built by Rogue, so it's first class, okay? Great piece of equipment. Underneath my stairs, I have a bunch of kind of just miscellaneous stuff. We have a box, we have some foam, some boards for board pressing. There's a wheel roller under there for some hamstring work. So I try to really fit things wherever I can, and with a garage gym, we have very limited amount of space, so we have to be very efficient with it. And if I can stick things under my stairs here, it works. It is kind of a pain in the butt because I have to pull this out to get all my stuff out from underneath. So, you know, it takes a little bit of work, but it does save a little bit of space. Next, we have my USA Strength and Performance lat pull down. Now, this one is different than just a standard lat pull down because it's got a dual handle. So essentially, we can do some unilateral work because we've got two handles, and really mix up the variations that we're using on a given day. So this is a nice piece of equipment I got from a buddy of mine, Jason Gussick, who works for Westside as well as USA Strength and Performance. Top notch, high quality, and as you can see, it's very space efficient. I was actually surprised. I didn't know if this was going to fit when I bought it, which I wouldn't recommend any of you guys do that. I was kind of hoping and praying that it would fit and work out, and needless to say, it did. So I really stuck it in the corner. It's got a 300-pound plate stack, which I think most of them are less than that, but don't quote me on it. So anyways, great piece of equipment. It does have a low row, which is another thing that we can do a variety of stuff on it. And as you can see, I've got handles everywhere. So all these handles I've accumulated over the last year and a half. So there's a ton of variability just with my lat pull down. I've got a tsunami bar back here, a fat bar, bunch of bars, V-handles, a dog bone, which is really cool. We can use it on the lat pull down. We can also use it for pull-ups. So this thing has a ton of uses as well. And as you can see with a lot of stuff that we have, we can get a lot of different uses out of it. So a lat pull down, low row, dual handle, multiple attachments. There's a lot of things that we can do with that and really kill two birds with one stone. Next, we've got our plate tree from Rogue. Now, initially, I had a body solid plate tree. It didn't hold nearly the same amount of weight. I actually used to have one of the floor plate holders as well as that plate tree. I got rid of the floor, I got rid of that plate tree, and all of the weights that I had fit on just one plate tree. So talk about efficiency. This is it for me. I can fit all my plates on here. It's on wheels, and it saves space, and it looks badass. Everything from Rogue is badass. Obviously, you can tell that the quality is there, and their reputation precedes them, but this is a great piece of equipment. Now, it is more expensive than the body solid. The body solid, I think, ran me just under 200 bucks, and if I'm correct, I think this one was in the mid threes. So more money, but again, you have to think about the overall benefit. It's going to allow me to save space. I can fit more plates on it, and it's a great piece of equipment. It's on wheels. If I'm doing deadlifts over there, I can roll this out. So nice piece of equipment that was a good addition, a good improvement from what we had before. Next, we've got our hip thruster plates. I just bought these for my wife for Christmas. She's big into glute training, which I think, you know, glute training craze is definitely getting pretty popular. These plates are bigger than a standard plate, so when we're doing something like a glute hip thrust, it allows us to have more constant tension through range of motion because the plates can touch the floor, as opposed to a standard size bumper plate. there's kind of a point where they don't touch the floor when you're going through that eccentric range of motion. So needless to say, Brett Contreras plates, they're awesome. I actually haven't used them yet because we just got them, just gave them to her yesterday for Christmas, and I'm sure she'll love them. So those are kind of a thing that, you know, if you're big into glute training, those ran me a couple $100. So happy wife, happy life. I'm cool with that. Next, specialty bars. We're going to end on specialty bars, so just keep that in mind that this isn't the only set of bars that I have, but this really is kind of the staple bars that I use on a very regular basis. SS yoke bar from Elite FTS. There's tons of reviews on Coop's page on this. I think this is the best safety squat bar on the market. I'm biased. I work with Elite FTS. I love those guys, and this is a great piece of equipment to have. Now, it changes up the squat. It allows us to work around injuries that someone might have. Maybe they have some wrist injuries, or they just can't get into that externally rotated moment when we're doing a traditional back squat. So this is a great piece of equipment to have. Now, I do other things with this as well, such as front squat, which gives you the ability to front squat and be comfortable, especially if you have wrist issues and you can't get into a front rack. But there's a ton of other things. If you check out any of our posts, we do overhead presses with this. We do obviously unilateral work with it. So it's a good addition to have, and I would highly recommend it because it tends to be more favorable to lower back because of the camber. So it's almost like a combination between a high bar back squat and a front squat, which I think for spinal health is huge. Next, I have an Alico bar. Now, I bought this used, I think, 2011 or 2012 from a buddy of mine. So I can't even remember what I paid for it. I think it was maybe $400, but this is an $1,100 bar new. I've had it ever since then. I use it for everything, and it is definitely taken a beating over the years. And you know, I don't do a whole lot of Olympic lifting anymore, but still love this bar. Next is a T-grip bar from American Barbell. I love this bar because you can do things like cleans with it with a neutral grip. It spins okay. It's definitely not going to be anywhere near this, but it gets the job done, and obviously neutral tends to be a little more shoulder friendly. So this is a good addition for us. I've been looking for one for a while, and American Barbell had it. Next, we got a bow bar. I got this from Westside, another variation to our squatting movements that we can use on a consistent basis. I actually use this too for benching because it does provide a little bit more range of motion. And then bamboo bar, another staple. Football bar, another staple. So really all the stuff here is staple barbells for us. Now, do you need all the specialty bars? No, you definitely don't. Over time, these are things that you can add. You don't need to get all of these bars to start with. I had a safety squat bar back at my old gym. I took it with me. Obviously, the Alico bar I had, and then I've kind of just added these things as I've went. So I didn't get all these bars one day and spend, you know, a couple $1,000 on bars. I just kind of, over time, started accumulating this stuff. Anyways, kind of moving around here, I've got a bucket full of chains, about 200 pounds of chains. Those are all from Rogue. They're 5/8 chains. In my opinion, don't waste your time with the 1/2 inch chains because they're very light. For most people, they're only 10 pounds. So for most people, you're gonna need a little bit more chain to make a dent in your training. Those are 15 pounds each. I would go with those, all right? Got a Matador, which is our dip bar, attaches to our R3 rack. And then this attachment here goes onto my bench. Now this bench from Rogue is the AB, man, I can't remember now, but it's linked in the article. It does decline and it does obviously incline, and it's just a super heavy duty bench. It's an expensive bench though, so you can do things on it that you can't do on a regular bench. But the question is, do you need an expensive bench like this? No, you don't. Again, this is another thing that over time I built up to. I had an Elite FTS bench that I sold to a friend of mine. I've kind of become almost an equipment salesman throughout being a garage gym owner. I sold that bench. I think I got $300 or $400 for it. I put it towards this, and now I have a bench that can really do everything. I will say though, I don't use the decline that much, okay? So, you know, looking back, would I spend the $1,000 that this bench was? Probably not, because if you're gonna do a decline, you can elevate the front, all right? You don't necessarily need to get a bench that does decline, but needless to say, we have it, I love it, and it's here now. So, whiteboard, kind of some miscellaneous stuff. I got a manta ray, which goes on the bar for squatting. I've got a grip handle from Rogue. It's super fat, works great. Some handles. And then our R3 rack, this is the staple in our gym because obviously without a rack, you can't squat, you can't bench. There's tons of variants of racks, and you guys know this because you probably looked into a bunch of them if you're a garage gym owner. This, in my opinion, is the best rack, half rack on the market. Now, it's heavy duty. I looked at the Monster rack because the Monster rack does have some more add-ons that you can put onto it later on, but it was, I think, $300 more, and I just felt like once you start going down that road of having too much stuff like I did before, then you get into losing space. Then you kind of get into losing the integrity. So I wanted to really try to keep really the bare essentials, and thinking about having a rack that had more attachments to it is just gonna get me in a position where I'm just spending more money on equipment that I probably don't need anyways, okay? I can probably figure out how to arrange performing those movements like a standing press that those racks have. But needless to say, awesome rack, I love it. I've got the spotter straps from Spud. Love those too because if you're doing a deadlift or you're doing a squat and you fail, they catch the weight and they're not super loud, okay? I do have 3 young kids, so if I'm ever training and they're home, then, you know, it can get pretty noisy out here. So that's one thing that I like. I have multiple sets of pins, and I also have monolift arms. This is a thing that when it came out, I had to have it, and now probably not a thing that I would buy again. You can see our second rack doesn't have them, and it won't ever have them because I don't feel as much of a need to have this. I'm not a competitive powerlifter. I don't compete in powerlifting anymore. So it's not something that I feel is vitally important. You can see I've got kind of some miscellaneous things. Now I've got spotter arms on here because I do a lot of stuff with reverse bands. I've also got grapple grips, which I don't even know if they sell those anymore, but I got them a long time ago for fat grip pull-ups. Got the multi-grip bar. Also got a rope thrown on there. I do rope pull-ups with that rope. I do inverted rows. I do triceps extensions, so you can do a lot of different things with that rope. That rope cost me, I think, about $30 on Amazon. So nice piece. Got the hanging leg raise straps on here as well. You can see there's a lot of shit on this rack. And it's, man, this thing has served me better than anything in this gym. So this is something that I would highly recommend. We liked it so much that we got a second rack because my wife and I started training together more often. And it gets hard when we're using a conjugate method and we're trying to do banded box squats, and she's using different band tension, she's using a different amount of weight. So it just got very cumbersome trying to switch weights, and it just didn't work out. She ended up always having to wait for me, and that's not optimal for her training session either. So I grabbed another rack, and it's been awesome to have. As you can see, I've got the landmine attached. I love the landmine. I've really gotten into landmine training the last year or so, and we've been getting, just kind of checking out what other people are doing and coming up with our own stuff. So I love that piece of equipment. You can also get the landmine that goes into the plates. Definitely, if you have a garage gym, this is a must. You can squat with it, you can press with it, you can do a ton of variations that you couldn't otherwise do if you didn't have it. So I would recommend definitely looking into a landmine. As we kind of move on, we've got a glute hip thrust bench from Brett Contreras, an Elite FTS squat box, which has multiple heights. It has 14, 16, and 18. And then kind of some miscellaneous mats. I cut up some of these floor mats, as well as some DC blocks, an AirX pad, which I use for a ton of things. And then a 100-pound med ball or 100-pound D ball is there as well. Again, we're really trying to maximize space, so anywhere we can put things where it's easy to get to, it's organized. I like my place clean and organized. That makes life a lot better for me. And then another Rogue storage piece here with some belts, kind of some miscellaneous stuff, an ab wheel. And I alluded to a second ago, I said I haven't used any of those other companies that are cheaper except for 2 things. The first thing is T-bar row. I love T-bar row. This is probably my favorite upper back exercise of all time, okay? I love this. I could literally do it in every training session. I'd be happy. This is a piece of crap, so don't buy one. Unless you're just using it for yourself. If you're a gym owner, do not buy this, okay? It's not built well at all, and it's only $250 with free shipping. So you pay for what you get, okay? That's really the lesson. Now, I don't have any issues using this. I use it all the time. No issues. It's a little bit rickety, but it's the quality is just nowhere near Rogue, or if you're gonna go with a T-bar row, I would look elsewhere like Elite FTS. Again, the caveat is that I only use it, my wife uses it. We don't have our members using it, 100 people a day using it, where it's gonna take, some wear and tear and potentially break. So, it does get the job done. Not to be completely negative on Titan's product. I get a lot of use out of it, so I guess there's that. But just remember, context is key. If you're using it yourself, it's a good piece to have. If it's, not something that you need anyways, you can do chest-supported rows with your incline bench. So there's a ton of variance to training the same musculature, but without this piece of equipment. I personally get the most from the T-bar row. I always have. So this one is a good one for me. Next, we've got our air runner. Now, this certainly isn't something that a lot of garage gyms will have, but I absolutely love it. I don't like running outside. We live in New England. It's cold. And frankly, I just don't like running outside that often, okay? So if I'm gonna do it, I had to make it convenient, and I do try to take my aerobic work pretty seriously. I wanna live a long life and be around for my grandkids. So this is a staple. And for the longest period of time, I just had the air runner. Recently, I got the Rogue Echo Bike. Now, just to change things up, because going for a 30-minute run is obviously boring, and if I do 15 and 15, it makes it a little bit easier. It's a little more mentally engaging, where I have a little more variability. I think this Rogue Echo Bike is by far the best air bike I've ever used. Now, I've used the Airdyne. I had an assault bike before at our old gym. This thing is a tank. Now, I asked my neighbor. It's funny. I live in a neighborhood that has other people that train and have garage gyms. He's just got the Echo Bike not too long ago, and I said, hey, it's a couple $100 more. What do you think? Is it worth the extra couple $100? And he said, absolutely. It's night and day. And honestly, I am very happy that I got this, because there is no issues with this thing. It's belt driven. The chain on the assault bikes at our gym used to always have issues, okay? So this is definitely something that is worth the extra money. If you're thinking about getting an air bike, go with the Echo Bike, all right? If you already have an assault bike, it is what it is. Like it's still a fine piece of equipment. You'll still get a lot from it, but this thing is basically maintenance free. And I believe Coop did a review on this, and he basically said that his Echo Bike hasn't changed, and he's been beating the crap out of it for X amount of years. So great piece of equipment. So if we want to kind of go over here a little more, got a couple sleds. I've got the dog sled from Rogue, and as you can see, I've got the wheelbarrow attachment on it. I've got the low handle attachment. I love wheelbarrows, and I love the sled. So having that option to do both in the same training session gives me a huge bang for the buck. I can do a ton of things. We could get into the nuances of what this does from an actual training perspective, but know that there is not a whole lot of pieces of equipment out there that can do what a sled and a wheelbarrow can do. All right, you're talking about training essentially strength and conditioning in the same session. So great piece of equipment. Behind it, a Westside pulling sled. And then I've got this T-handle, which I just loaded with plates last week, because I always forget that I have it, but it's got a ton of uses. You can do some essentially a sumo deadlift with it. A lot of different things. You can carry it. So I put some 35-pound plates that I had kind of just laying around on it, just to leave it out to remind myself that I need to use it more. And my wife loves that one as well. So this is kind of something that I added not that long ago. I bought used off of Facebook. It's a abduction machine. So I bought it used. Again, my wife's into glute training. I bought it for her. The guy delivered it. It was local. I think I paid $500 for it. Great deal. Takes up a fair amount of space, and I used to be able to still park one car in here. Clearly, we're past that point. That's not happening anymore. But at this point, I would say we won't be adding any other equipment. This is basically where we're at right now. There's no need to add more equipment, but she loves this thing. And you know what? Like I said, happy wife, happy life. She's getting a lot from this for her training. So it's here, and we'll make the best of it. We've got a fan. Gets pretty hot in here in the summer. There is no air conditioning in here. So, I mean, if you're anywhere down south or in a warmer climate, I don't even know how you guys train. The humidity is very hard to training for myself. I actually would rather be colder, but this is just a basic fan. I think I got it on Amazon. Now, next thing, Titan Fitness box I got on Amazon as well. It's got multiple heights. It's a good piece of equipment to have for me. If I had this in a gym and I had people using it, it's risky, okay? Because if they don't land perfect on this thing, it's very unstable. I've actually fallen at least one time that I remember, and a couple times that I almost ate it pretty bad. I ate it really bad one time on this thing, and I don't have any video of it because I don't want to end up on a CrossFit highlight reel, but it is very unstable. If you're not sure-footed, just be careful with that. Foam rollers, I've got a rope, a pulling rope, so I like to attach this rope to my sled, go outside and do kind of like a hand over hand. Works out pretty well, and it gives your biceps a nice pump. I've got some L-sit handles, as well as this is a Dynamax, really light ball. I do some CNS work with this prior to my training session. It only weighs 4 pounds. So that's kind of something that I like to use. And then we've got a 14-pound med ball, which my wife does wall balls from time to time. 150-pound sandbag. That thing is a beast. I don't use it a whole lot because it's really hard to use. I actually usually use the 100-pound D-ball just because I can get really everything I need without really blowing up my lower back. But that's something that if you're looking to do something for loaded carries, that will certainly get you on your way. For most normal people, 100 pounds is probably all you need though. So, I had 100 already, so I got 150. And next thing, got a Rogue sandbag. I've got about 100 pounds in that. Again, don't use it a whole lot, but it's there for when I need it. If I want to do a workout that's got some running in it with a sandbag, I've got a sandbag. And then last but not least, this is our last of our bars. Now, over the years, I've gotten rid of a lot of bars. I actually had another full one of these, if you can believe that. I know it's crazy, but I had another full one of these. So we've downsized quite a bit, and luckily I was able to sell a lot of that stuff and get it a good home. But we've got a camber bar. This is from Rogue. It is super, super heavy. I don't love this bar because it's really hard. And you can see that a lot of the stuff that is brutal is tough in your training session. So when I do squat with this, it's brutal. It's a brutal bar. So definitely not something you need, but if you have it, it's obviously can give you some variability to your training. I actually bench with this bar from time to time as well, which I probably like benching with this more than I do squatting. And you can do Zercher squats with it as well. Ladies bar, a training bar, and then a variety of fat bars. So this fat bar is from Elite FTS. The Zigzag Easy Bar Fat from Elite FTS. I love grip training. Just another standard barbell, men's barbell, which I got from, again, Faster when they had that sale. And then this bar here, I actually thought was a lot bigger, but then I got it and it was tiny. So needless to say, it's a good bar to do curls with. That's from American Barbell. And then trap bar, I really want the Rogue trap bar just because you can fit more plates on it. This one is smaller. I got it off Amazon for a couple $100, but the trap bar is a staple in our training too. So this one would go right with those other ones in terms of being something that's non-negotiable that we need, we use all the time. We do RDLs with it. We do obviously deadlifts with it. And it's just a great bar to have just because the way it positions the loading, a lot more spinal friendly. I think more CrossFit gyms should have these. And I think, in the future, you'll see more gyms having these. So that is it. I can't think of anything else. I forgot the RhinoFlex bar. A great bar. I use it from time to time. It has 600-pound limit, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's about 600 pounds. So I use it for squatting. I can't squat 600, but I wish I could. This bar you can squat pretty heavy with, and it's very different. It oscillates, so it gives you a little bit different training effect, and just really challenges up the basic stuff that we do with a regular bar. So again, guys, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the tour. Check out the article. I've linked everything in there. And, I think the one thing I will conclude this with is saying that start small, get yourself a rack, get a couple horse stall mats for your floor, a barbell, some bumper plates, maybe a couple dumbbells from Walmart. and then you'll be good to go. And then as you start training, you're like, oh, well, man, I wish I had that landmine. You get your landmine, and then add, you know, as time passes, you can keep adding more to it. You don't have to spend 10 grand your first go around, okay? P.S., one more thing. We do have heat in here. My last garage gym, I had an electric heater. It used to kill the electric bill. So we put in, when we built this house, we put in a gas heater, which is something we absolutely need in New England. It gets pretty cold out here. So again, guys, I hope you enjoy the tour. If you have questions, feel free to